You know who loves Izotope? This guy. Everyone here at Ruinous Media can't get enough of Izotope's intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. This year, make a resolution to yourself to say goodbye to bad audio and hello to super clear, wide, dynamic, clean audio using Izotope RX11 and the new Ozone 12. Master every track's potential with their complete 20-tool suite. Go to izotope.com and use code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. And go to izotope.com. That spelling is izotope.com. I'd like to welcome our newest sponsor, Schecter Guitars. This holiday season, go over to schecterguitars.com and see what high-quality goodies they have waiting there for you. Premium feel and unbeatable price. See why guitarists like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse, Robert Smith from The Cure, and Ernie C. from Body Count all love Schecter Guitars. A wide variety of styles and builds with high-end components and affordable prices for touring guitarists. Built to last. Go treat yourself and try something new you've always wanted to check out. Schecter Guitars has it all. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too.
I think that music has like a really beautiful possibility, music and sound, to just like get in there with people. And I love that about music.
What's happening? Thanks so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. On today's show, I am very excited to welcome the one and only Mirah to the show. I've been a fan of hers for over 20 years now. Wow, how time flies, right? We talk about it in the interview, but it's, you know, when I first heard her album, you think it's like this, but really it's like this. I was blown away. It was one of my favorite albums, you know, of my 20s. I don't know, of my life. I guess it's one of those things that just kind of sticks with you. You never really know, like, what is the length of, you know, a fandom, I guess. But it was one of those great albums that really, you know, I think combined heart and like, you know, indie sounds, but production value and kind of distortion and I don't know, it's kind of folky noise in a way that I just hadn't really heard up until that point or really since. You know, I think there's something, you know, she did an incredible follow-up album that was also great, and then many albums after that, but it just sort of like set me on a path of really understanding, you know, that Advisory Committees, the follow-up album, which is great as well. But it's really one of those things that's just like, whoa, this is incredible. Just great, hooky, fun, pop, intimate songs. And this production by Phil Elverum of Microphones to Come, you know, really just felt so gooey and so like intimate and just in your ear, you know, kind of that real buzzing sort of sound in your ear that just was just short-circuited my young brain. I think in a way that was like, oh, this is cool. This is so like direct and intimate and right into your heart, but also so kind of geeky and nerdy and music-y and production-y and all the fun sort of like big sounds that I was loving of music, you know, kind of coming from a noisier sort of side of things, but that kind of noise pop element really just knocked my socks off, as the kids say these days. But Mirah has a new album coming out. You can go to mirahmusic.com to pre-order or just order. It's coming out tomorrow. February 20th. The new album is called Dedication. You can go to her Bandcamp as well, but don't forget Mirah Music, MIRAHMUSIC Mirah Music, to see where her tour dates are taking her. And, get the new record. You can also go to her Instagram at Mirah Music. It's just like the website, Mirah Music on the Instagrams. And then where is the Bandcamp? Bandcamp. You can link to it from there. Mirah Music, let's see, Bandcamp. Mirah.bandcamp.com. There we go. Mirah.bandcamp.com. Go follow her. Go listen to the record. Go buy the records. And she has many records there as well. They did a 20th year anniversary tribute record to You Think It's Like This, but really it's like this. That's available out there. And so much good stuff. New record coming soon. New tour dates as well. She'll be coming on the East Coast. I think those are announced, and then the West Coast also coming up. But go listen to it. She is awesome. And I was nervous for this interview. I was really, I've been such a fanboy for so long. We talk about it a little bit in the interview, but I was blown away, and I'm so stoked I got to see her early on, in those early tours, just her and a guitar, and then, later with a band. And I don't know. It's hard to put into words how much of a fan I am of Mirah. I think I've listed her, her on my top 10 albums, in different forms. People ask you for those kinds of things, like, what are your 10 favorite albums? You think it's like this, but really it's like this is on there. So this is a real treat for me. Thank you, Mirah, for making the time and indulging this nerd and all the fun nerd talk we get to have. I think we start off the interview talking about Max Headroom. I have a funny little preamble I always talk about with guests before I hit record. It's just talking about, how glitchy the program we record on can be from time to time. And there's an element of Max Headroom about it. And I think we jump right in to talking about Max Headroom a little bit, and all things kind of evolve from there. And at some point the thing starts echoing, and then we reset. Hopefully I've edited it, elegantly and smoothly enough that you will not notice the edits in there. But yeah, it was fun. Thanks, Mirah, for coming on. And everybody go buy the new album, Dedication, Mirah, and then also go see her on tour. You can go to mirahmusic.com to see all things Mirah, and also go to her Bandcamp, mirah.bandcamp.com. Order the records there. Go see her on tour. Get your tickets, and tell her that Randy sent you. Tell her that the Hyphenate podcast sent you. And if you have not heard it, please go listen to You Think It's Like This, but really it's like this. It's very cool. It's a very cool record. It's a big part of what I've taken into so many production sounds and choices of things. It's one of those albums that it's hard to underestimate or to overestimate the importance that it's had, and sort of how I thought about music and songwriting and melodies and all things, that I've gone on to do in my life. I think is really an influential record for me in a time and place. And when, part of my young obsession with Olympia and all things K Records and Kill Rock Stars and everything, I think Mirah plays a big part in that, just fandom and just like, wow, what a cool place. And the stories she tells about her time in Olympia do not disappoint. There's a lot of cool, fun stuff going on up there, and it's definitely the Disneyland of music in my mind, 90s Olympia. So, sit back, relax, and more importantly, go buy the record, go buy tickets, and enjoy this interview as much as I enjoyed having the conversation. Thanks.
I guess I can picture this image of that character, but I don't know what his deal was. Who was Max Headroom?
Max Headroom was a character that Matt Frewer, who was like a comedic actor. He was like just a comedy guy. He was almost the Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey kind of thing. And then it's a British production and sort of post, dystopian.
Was it
future.
A TV show?
It was a TV show, but it was the kind of thing in the 80s where you could just have a character like Jim Varney, Ernest, that kind of guy who was a pitch
for some reason,
salesman.
just that character.
Yeah, he'd he'd be a commercial guy and he could have his own TV show. It was sort of viral stars before social media. It was just like Alf. Like what's an Alf? Like it's a puppet a guy made, and like we'll put him. He can sell chips. He can sell a TV show. So Max Headroom was that. But the name Max Headroom came because in the show, a guy hits his head and going into a parking garage, and the parking garage has the yellow and black warning symbols, and it says Max Headroom, like the headroom, like in England kind of thing that like you don't hit your head.
So
on
it was not an audio reference.
No. The Max, but I see what you're saying. Headroom, but like for audience,
used it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, or like like on a VU meter or something, right. Or like there is that space where it's like. It's basically like where overdrive would happen.
Yes,
is
exactly.
Like if you pass Max Headroom.
That makes more sense.
I'm like, I should think of some more things to ask you because you're like a walk and talking encyclopedia over there. Okay.
I'm nothing if not nerdy. That is for sure. Mirah, it's so nice to meet you. I feel like we have friends of friends in common. Temba and Nora from the Intima, I know, played in one of the early touring bands.
Oh.
And I was so happy,
dear old friends.
Yeah, to see them on the road with you. And I remember talking to them early on, and they're like, "Oh, it's so fun! It's great playing with her." I was like, "Oh, I love her music. This is incredible. That's so great."
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It's so funny. Nora ended up living in Brooklyn. Like we overlapped in Brooklyn for a few years. I mean, just a few years ago, just like pre-pandemic, I guess it was, but. Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's always great to like cross paths and sort of reconnect with people from lifetimes ago. And,
we're so lucky to have been able to do this for so long, that, you end up.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift's not the only one with eras. We all get eras of our life. Good for her. I like her eras as well, but we can share that term. That's a good term. Yeah.
I thought of it when she was doing. I wish I'd gotten to see. If someone had like just gifted me, I would go see. I would pretty much go to see any performance of anyone. It's hard to get tickets, and then it's hard to pay for them. But I thought about that with her and the Eras tour, and not like aside from the fact that I also have a family connection to a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania, which is true. Oh, okay. That's something she and I have in common. We're both songwriters. Yeah. We both have family history with Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania. But the Eras thing, I was like, oh yeah, me too. Because my first full-length record had the 20-year anniversary reissue, and when I was working on that, because it turned into this whole project with other bands covering the tracks, so I ended up listening to it a lot. I had to approve the remaster, so I was like listening to that record and then listening to other people's interpretations of the songs.
Wow!
And I was like, that was an era. Mm-hmm. That was an era for me. So,
it's incredible.
Here I come to bring up the whatever GDP in your town.
You're coming. Oh my gosh! Right? I know. Oh, it's incredible. She is a phenomenon, and there's a whole other, conversation for that. But I want to talk about. So when you say your debut album, are we saying you think it's like this, but really it's like this? Is that the debut album?
Oh, you mean you go so deep and you're so nerdy that you're talking about Storage Land? Is that where you're going with that question?
No, wait, I don't know Storage Land. Wait, what do I do?
Ooh, okay. Let me give you some deep cut info.
Please.
So I did release, it was technically an EP. It was a one-sided 12-inch. So music on side A, and then side B was an etching by Nikki McClure, actually.
Very cool. Wow.
And that was 5 or 6 songs recorded with Pat Maley, who was another Olympia fixture, and he ran Yo-Yo Recordings. And his studio actually, it was like the recording studio was the Capitol Theater, and then his control room was upstairs in the Capitol Theater, but where bands recorded was like on the main stage of the Capitol Theater in Olympia. So yeah, that was my first release, and I think that was 1998, unless it was 99, but I think it might have been 98.
Okay, incredible. But that's not the
You
one
can
you did.
lodge that in with
I
all
like
your
it.
other
I love it. I
info
love
up
it.
there.
Well, yeah, you first came on my radar with "You Think It's Like This, but really it's like this." That was sort of
Yeah.
the where I had a college radio show. I was a freshman or sophomore in college, and nobody, and I was at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning. It was very early for college time, and nobody was awake. And I quickly realized, like, oh, no one's, much like, media would go on to be, you're just talking into the void. Like, I don't know who's hearing this, but
Yeah.
but I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were sharing tastes in music and things like this. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to make her mixtapes every week. Then this will just be a fun opportunity for me to make her cool mixtapes of songs I like.
On actual cassette, we're talking.
Yes, yeah, on a cassette, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, because the college radio station would get in all the coolest CDs, and this was back in the time when independent record labels like K Records and Kill Rock Stars would send, were nice enough to send promos out. And so I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, I get to listen to all this music and try it out, and then I'll make a tape of all my favorites and I'll share it with her, and it'll be really fun part of our thing. But that's where I really fell in love with your record, and I just loved it. And I think you toured around that time, and I saw her and I went down to Santa Ana. I live in the Los Angeles area, and we drove down to Santa Ana to Coos Cafe, where it was still in a house. It was like someone's living room, more or less. It would go on to move to different places and be a different venue, but that first one was so magical and it was so great. And we sat on the floor, and you just played the songs by yourself.
Old school.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean,
that's so cool. You were at.
Yeah. I loved it. And then I would go on, I was obsessed with all things Olympia, as people are apt to do, but how did you find yourself in Olympia, and how did you come to make this record?
Yeah, well, I mean, I ended up in Olympia because I was going to college. I had graduated high school a year early, and I'd done some traveling, but I'd planned to go to college, and I have a somewhat alternative background and family, and so Evergreen, that was like a kind of obvious choice for my college applications, and I didn't know anything about Olympia or about music scene or anything that was happening there. It really was like I was 17 going to college, and I happened to land in this place that was like, now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting that I landed there in 1992, because there was so much happening with music and culture in like a pretty unique way. And even though, I wasn't like immediately hanging out downtown, and like I wasn't like a cool kid. Like I did just, it was like a weird kind of like half hippie, half punk. I don't know. Like when I was a kid, one of the Halloween costumes of the 80s, I remember like this not being that uncommon for people to dress up as a half hippie, half punk, where it would be like, like a sort of half mohawk spike on one side, and then like a tie-dye headscarf on the other. That's kind of like me. That's like the real me.
That's amazing.
Like also known as like not particularly cool, but like, I always found myself in like interesting company and was like able to do really cool stuff, and was always like kind of well liked. Like I wasn't like anyway, half hippie, half punk, Olympia, Washington. Yeah, so I like that was me landing in Olympia. I didn't I didn't have a plan to get involved with music or even like an identity myself as a musician per se. And and I didn't really play guitar yet. I'd taken a few lessons when I was really young, but I didn't have a guitar, and I didn't really play guitar. I always liked to sing, and I liked music. But yeah, so that was me landing in Olympia. And then, it's a small town. And so as I did expand my, my movements and activities beyond, I lived on campus for the first year. And then after that, I lived in a bunch of different places around the town. As it happened, I moved to a really cool town where there was a lot of great stuff going on, and not just with music, but the Olympia Film Society was really active, and there was this amazing, beautiful theater that I mentioned before, the Capitol Theater, and there was a pretty I don't know, I don't know if it was a big film festival, but a lot of very well-known filmmakers, directors would come for that festival as guests, and the programming is really good. And there were just partly because of Evergreen, and I'm sure for other reasons too, there were a lot of people in the orbit of Olympia who were just pretty cool, interesting people who did really great, kind of offbeat and unusual and creative things. So it wasn't just about the music, I wish, even though I'm so glad that we weren't all running around with our faces stuffed in our phones, nothing would have happened. The whole scene in Olympia, it wouldn't have happened if everyone had these devices like they do now. But I do regret that some things weren't captured and filmed as much. There was this incredible project. I wasn't involved with it, but I went to see it at the Capitol Theater. It was called this something Star Wars rock opera puppet show.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
It was amazing. And so my kid is 7 now.
Oh.
And I preempted, I knew that he was gonna I knew that he was gonna get into stories that were about I don't know, fighting or outer space. He was interested in outer space. Or I was maybe instead of allowing, I don't know what I think about the whole world of superheroes. I was I like Star Wars.
Oh my God.
I was born in 1974.
Yep.
I personally like Star Wars. And so I will preempt my kids' interest by getting a bunch of Star Wars books.
Oh, how fun.
And this will be, right? Yeah. this will be the sort of fighting good guy, bad guy thing that we are into. And it mostly worked. And so he's pretty into Star Wars and knows all the stuff. And I'm oh my God, I wish that I had a video of the 15-foot in diameter cardboard replica of the Millennium Falcon that friends of mine made and strung on wires or something. And it traveled across the expanse of the Capitol Theater towards the stage. And
sounds amazing. Like a fever dream.
There was just,
right.
It was amazing. So anyway, that's just one small example. I was in a rock opera called The Transfused that was written by Nomi Lamb and The Need. And it was the story was a group of gender freaky animal people in the future who rise up in revolt against the sort of corporate overseers. And it was it was amazing. And we had the run of the Capitol Theater. We had all these resources, but but also no one had any money. Like our resources were each other.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and then, and with the benefit of like a few really amazing spaces that because life was inexpensive, it like we could use the Capitol Theater or like the big room at K, which was where that was the recording studio. That was where all the recording equipment was. We just had keys to the place. Like
how fun, right?
like
really,
we didn't pay to it, like once I got involved, which I know I skipped over that part. We can talk about it if you want. It was just like almost like a clubhouse, and a bunch of us just had keys rather than my life now. I have a home studio, which is good for certain things, but if I'm going to book time in a studio, you have to book time in a studio, you have to pay for time in a studio, you have
sure, yeah.
an engineer, maybe like you're co-producing with someone, and anyone who comes in to play on your record, you pay them. And I'm not saying that we all shouldn't have been paying each other back then. We probably should have.
But it wasn't really an option either. There wasn't a lot of money, but the time was there.
It kind of wasn't an option. And, we that's what I mean by like our resources were each other. Like we shared our human resources with each other, our skills and our ideas. And, I'm not saying there are no problems with that. But there was something very beautiful about it at the time.
It's a time and a place sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, you have done nothing to diminish my, my magical realism thinking of what 90s Olympia was. This, if anything, it's only added flame to the fire. Like it's very cool. And but it sounds like you landed there and found like-minded people and found a way to contribute to a very fertile DIY scene that was sort of exploding everywhere. And sort of put your hand up and said, I have something to say too, and found a venue and a stage to sort of support and amplify that.
Which, I mean, I still feel extremely fortunate for those things falling into place for me, because like I very easily could have not stumbled into this line of work, which like it ended up being my line of work. And it wasn't, I didn't intend for that. When I went to Olympia and I was going to college, I thought I was going to end up in either sort of like environmental science or political science somehow. I maintain a lot of interests. But in terms of like my line of work, I'm definitely not there. I'm firmly in, making music, and that's what I'm still doing, obviously, as I'm putting out a record this month. It was a remarkable time and place to just end up in.
How fun. Tell me a little bit about Phil Elverum. I know he was part of that record. You think it's like this, but really it's like this.
Yeah.
Am I saying it correctly?
A huge part of it.
Yeah. Am I saying? I want to make sure. I feel like I've said it so many times. You think it's like this, but this and this. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. You think it's like this, but really it's like this. Which when we were doing the 20-year anniversary reissue, and there were like lots of emails going back and forth, and Double Whammy also reissued my second and third albums, so the emails were often about a number of different things, and so we would shorten it to this impossible thing, which was like YTILTBRIL.
Yeah. Okay, but you could tell what it was. Like, yes, yeah, you knew.
You could tell what it was, but your eyes just kind of glaze over. You skip over. You're like, I know what that's talking about. Yeah. But yeah, Phil moved to Olympia from Anacortes, where he grew up. I think maybe during my, I think I was I graduated from Evergreen in 1996, and I decided to stay. I had a very um a like a very close group of friends. I was involved with a lot of things. Um I wasn't I I had started playing music and writing songs while I was still at Evergreen. I actually had, this is like a well-known story, but I had an assignment for class to write a song, and I wrote a song, and everyone liked it. And I was like, cool. And I did take some classes. My last year at Evergreen, I took like a recording engineering class, audio and media class, and some electronic music classes. So I was, and Evergreen, there's no required subjects,
There's
and
no
you don't have to
grades.
declare a
There's no, yeah.
major. There's no grades. Um, and so I, I mean, my third year at Evergreen, I moved to Norway and went to this folk high school and learned how to build log cabins.
Whoa.
So I, I, I had done, um, my second year at Evergreen, I took what was it? I would think it was called like Intro to Performing Arts or something. And that was the class that I had written the song for. So I had like kind of begun that journey um, of like figuring out how to write songs and realizing that I enjoyed it, and then play at open mics at the corner cafe where I worked on campus, and like people liked these things. And so there were, I had some positive feedback, but I, I still, it was all very nascent until sometime maybe, yeah, it was 2 years later after I graduated that actually Pat Maley, who not only ran Yo-Yo Recordings, but also worked at the Olympia Food Co-op, he literally just like overheard me singing while I was doing my co-op shift, like washing lettuce or something. And he was like, you want to come record? Because he was just like this wonderful, like very, very supportive. Like his the way that I started my recording career in Olympia with Pat Maley, that's the way that a lot of people started, where he just was very generous and supportive and interested. And so yeah, then I like found myself, oh, okay, like I'm here, I am recording this EP. And so sometime around like 98 or 99, I think, Phil moved to Olympia, and my friends and I had a shared art studio that was in the same building um, as K Records, and like as the big room, which is where like the recording studio upstairs, which it was a very big room. It had been like a warehouse. It was, I don't know what it warehoused originally. But it was just this like giant, I have no idea, like 1,000 square foot room with these huge, like tilty multi-pane old warehouse windows,
So cool.
no soundproofing at all. And, with a bunch of art studios and the K offices downstairs, and then some art studios upstairs too, one of which my friends and I shared. And so because it was such a small town and Phil moved into the track house, we just sort of fell into the same social world. And I had started being interested in recording. I had already recorded an EP with Pat. My dad actually gave me a 4-track cassette recorder.
Oh, cool.
For that was like my graduation present from college from my dad. And I can't totally remember how much or little I'd used it. But and that, like I'd done some recording with an old family friend. I would like come back to Pennsylvania to visit my family and did some recording. But there was something about meeting Phil and hearing the kinds of sounds, just his approach to recording, and the results of his experiments. I was really inspired by him, and we became friends. And I feel like my relationship to recording really kind of took off, or like I was able to blossom into my like blossom because of that inspiration that I had from Phil. He was like playful and experimental, and interestingly, at the time, he did. I don't think he identified so much as like a singer or necessarily as a person who had a strong sense of like lyric writing, which is interesting to me because now, I mean, like his gifts as a writer and how he and what he brings into his songs lyrically now and for the past bunch of years is it's so beautiful and so revealing and so honest. And I feel so amazed by him because like when we first met, he was one of those like, wunderkind people who like, it's like, oh my gosh, you're 18 years old and like you just have a key to this recording studio and somehow know how to use all this stuff. Like, how do you even know?
Yeah.
He was pretty much just self-taught with like everything. And like I just played guitar. I could bang around on some different stuff, but like he's a great drummer. He plays the bass. He just had a very beautiful, intuitive sense about not just about like music making, but with recording, which is really interesting. I'm like, is there some past life stuff there or what? Like, how do you know how to use this equipment? And so, yeah, like that, my friendship with Phil and being part of some of his earlier recording projects and then us starting to work on projects together, that was extremely influential for me. And also, like with that first record, or the first full-length record, You Think It's Like This, I think probably like a third of the songs I just recorded on my cassette 4-track. And that remained true. There were songs on my second and maybe even third album too that I recorded on the equipment I knew how to use. Mm-hmm. With my mediocre engineering skills and my crappy little 4-track cassette recorder. And then the other ones I would record with Phil, on the 16-track tape recorder in the big room. And we would he played a bunch of instruments. I would play things. We would invite people in. And yeah, I learned so much during that period, from him and just through the process of making music and experimenting. And again, that feeling of freedom and the lack of sort of like time restriction, which, time and money, the restrictions of time and money have a pretty strong relationship. Mm-hmm. And they often go hand in hand. But we somehow we just existed outside of that restriction. And it was really beneficial for me. And then that coupled with the very supportive, very like free environment of what was being made in Olympia, and even, opportunities like the Yo-Yo Go-Go festivals, and then later the Lady Fest festivals. I missed the International Pop Underground happened right. I think that was actually like the first summer I went home. Wasn't that in like summer of 1992?
That
maybe
sounds about right. Yeah,
where,
it's definitely right in that
which,
zone.
and so that was like my first year at Evergreen. I lived on campus, and then I think I just like went back to Pennsylvania that summer. I can't remember even what maybe I got a job. I don't know, but I wasn't like, I hadn't really begun exploring the town of Olympia yet. So I totally missed that. Whoops.
There was a whole Riot Girl, Revolution Summer, this whole kind of cultural thing happening that was blowing up around you. Like,
I was like,
I'm going home.
I'm going to go back to
dog.
Bala Cynwyd. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I ended up getting in and involved in my own way within a few years of that, which
that's the way it's supposed to happen. Everything unfolds in its own time. I mean, the record, and you talk about time, I mean, how do you recall roughly how long did you guys spend making that record? Was it 3 months? Was there kind of endless time to it? How long did it really
that's actually a great question that I do not think I have I could come up with any kind of accurate answer for, which to go, maybe that could illuminate. Like, there wasn't, I feel like it would just be like one song at a time. It was project based, and a song was a project.
Okay. So you worked one song at a time, but you didn't have 10 songs laying down and you would go through and now we're going to do drums on all the songs. We're going to do strings on all the songs.
Right. No, absolutely not. I mean,
each song was its own little jewel being crafted.
Yep.
And carved.
Exactly. Wow. And the truth is that remained my approach to making records for years. And I had an interview the other day, like the record that's coming out this month is one of the few projects I've worked on where there was a group of musicians, a studio, and a period of time. And all the songs were written in advance. I had demos of the songs, the whole kind of PDF of like what I was imagining to happen for each of them. And we went in and we did it. And then, there were some overdubs afterwards, but I know that that's the normal way people make records. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that was the normal way people made records for like years.
That's amazing. It's great.
It was great. It was great. But yeah, it was very project based. Like, I mean, I know this is on the second record, but Cold Water as an example.
Advisory committee.
I think record. We worked we worked on that song. I mean, I feel like it was a few weeks of just that song. And I don't remember, I mean, that was an independent project and it was a big undertaking for us. And we were working with analog equipment. And so the process is extremely different. Like now I'm very used to recording digitally and I use Pro Tools and the whole approach, it's like a whole different way for your brain to operate, because when you're working analog, um, everything is finite, including like
Sure.
the number of tracks at your disposal, even if you're bouncing or, punching in. And we did a lot of like using a track, because that song has sort of, it has eras. It like like the different verses have their different sort of instrument palettes. And you just have to chart it out. We actually had, I wish we kept it. This is like, oh God, if I was more of like an archivist about my own work, it would be so cool. Phil actually he's much better at archiving things. And actually when we were working on the album design for the 20-year anniversary reissue, he sent a few things that we included in the album design, which it was like, he and I did a lot of fairly intensive touring for those first few years that we were working together closely. And he has, I wrote some things down, I don't even know where they are though. Phil has everything. He had the piece of paper that was in the book with our tour schedule and like a little sort of hand-drawn chart of the date, where we were, where we played, how much money we made, how much merch money we made, and probably some other details too.
How cool.
Yeah. He like,
cool.
And just in terms of record keeping. Yeah. It's among the many things I appreciate about Phil, but so I wish that I had saved this thing. We had this chart that we made. And also, neither he nor I work with like a traditional, like standard music notation. So it was essentially like a poster-sized, extra long poster-sized piece of paper with a list, and it was like a diagram of the song and our ideas for it, because we had to keep track of what would be where, and also which tracks were going to share which instruments when.
Right. There's a finite number of tracks, so you'd have to put on one at the same time or bounce them down. So they kind of commit
and if we were going to bounce, then you have to bounce before you put the other thing on if you don't want. Anyway, it was just a whole different way. And like it's commonly cited thing that there are a lot of positives to working, to sort of giving yourself limitations. I mean, that's what a deadline is. A deadline, sure. You're putting a limitation on time so that you finish it by, I mean, I've mostly been self-employed, and so
there's all kinds of
give myself deadlines.
That by itself is
you have to, and it's so that's what analog recording is. That's what working on a small budget is.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that
limitations
as well. I've been part of a duo for a number of years where it's just drums and guitar and vocals, but it just having just those instruments that allowed us to really get creative in other ways. Where there's loops or samples or other little sounds and textures and layers of things that we can pull off live. And sometimes it's just studio stuff, and sometimes it's just live. I'm curious with you, and what is that negotiation or that what is that creative process like, translating some of these songs that obviously have some incredible production into a live setting? How do you approach that, or how has that evolved over time? I mean, I'm sure you've done it a lot of these songs many different ways. Just tell me a little bit, talk me through some of that.
Well, it's funny because I think that I had a very distinct relationship between the songs as the public presentation of the songs, which it always made implicit sense to me that it was totally legit, totally okay to have my public presentation of the songs be as they were written, which is, that's just me and the guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't just like trying to save money, like, or, it was literally like, it didn't even occur to me for many years to try to like put together a band so that the live presentation of these songs would be somewhere in the same world as the recordings. And the truth is, even after I started having, sometimes touring with a band, the first time I did that was 2009.
Oh, wow.
So that's 10 years, with a few exceptions here and there. If I trying to think, I'm sure I must have just done like some one-off project here or there. Like, it's not like I never played music with other people at all, and people would ask me to join them, whatever. But in terms of like Mirah, the band, playing shows, it was just me and my same guitar that I still have. That's my main squeeze guitar, for 10 years. And then even, 2009 and after, I've put together a bunch of different bands. And so even still, I don't know that I've ever performed these songs in a way that's like a perfect representation of the recording on stage. It's always, because sometimes
perfect is a relative
I'm like,
term,
hey,
right? Yeah, but yeah.
like why? Well, okay, Alex Yusimov, fun. You can be in my band for this tour. You play accordion. Like, let's have more accordion.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, I like to have fun. I think probably one of the main reasons why I never like made it really big or made a lot of money or might probably ever make a lot of money is because I make choices based on like what I want, what I dream up, and what seems the most fun. I understand that that's totally impractical, and I'm 51 years old, and I should just like get with it and maybe get a real job or something. But I have a lot of resistance to that. And I have so much fun doing what I do that I want to keep doing it.
It makes sense to me.
Here we go.
Yeah.
My earpieces are running out of juice.
Oh no.
I don't know what happens after. I actually have these other headphones that I could plug in, but then I don't know if that'll work with the well, let's just keep going. And if this goes boop, 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 then we'll have to
we'll pivot from there. Yeah, but no, I totally get what you're saying too. Just that idea of having fun, and the songs are up for an interpretation, which I think is, speaks to just the power of the songwriting, of the lyric, the melody, all the stuff that is at the core of the song. Gives itself or is flexible or forgiving enough to be interpreted, and as the text, as the author of the text yourself, it's part of your purview. You can decide to do it any which way. I mean, that's sort of the tradition. Bob Dylan has been doing this for years, to positive and negative reviews. And somebody where he's a chameleon, it's great. I don't know what he's saying, and why doesn't he just play the songs the way I liked him? being played.
Right.
So yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches in that kind of way, where you have, a beautiful record, and then you're given the opportunity to perform it live in whatever way, shape, or form you want.
Yeah.
And your audience
Yeah.
knows, if they like you and they like the songs, they know, like, oh, this is going to be something different. And because I can be of two minds of that. Like, oh, I love hearing the songs the way I fell in love with the songs, but also love to hear a new version of it, or because I can always hear the record at home. But if I'm going to spend the money and go out to a show, I want to do something new, do something different. That's kind of fun too.
Yeah. And I mean, it's related to this like working within limitations, where there's one way where if I'm playing solo and it's just me and guitar, that's like an obvious limitation that I'm working within. Like, I only have two hands. But even when you add band, like, because every grouping of musicians that I've put together, or that has coalesced around me magically, or, all the different ways that it's happened, that opens up a whole bunch of doors. And there are still limitations, and I don't choose. I just had breakfast with my good friend Andrew, who he's played on a bunch of records with me. We've toured together, and he was really instrumental in helping this album that's helping Dedication sort of come together. And he was in town from LA, and we had breakfast the other day, and he was describing. He's a really amazing drummer, percussionist, mallet player, and he's a real quick study. So he gets hired for gigs, for like bands that are just this band that was like coming from Australia, playing just LA and New York. And he just learned all the material and did the thing. And when he was describing their choice for, like, they hired a live drummer, and it's common for live drummers. It's like people do use tracks. I don't have like a judgment about whether our people are like, really, it's, I don't know, people can do what they want, but I was like, oh, weird. Because he was playing with a drum track the whole time that they had him play with in order to have more control over, like, they wanted the actual snare sound and the actual kick sound to sound like the recording. And so that level of control,
specificity,
I'm not interested in that in terms of, like my choices around live presentation. Like I want, I guess whether you see it as like a limitation or not, like I want it to be different than the recording. I want to be actively playing live and hearing sounds and responding to them. And different people want different things, and but
that's part of that kind of, just it's walking a tightrope in some ways, where like anything could happen, what I mean? And there's a human breathing, it speeds up, it slows down, they miss a hit, notes crack, things, but it sort of makes it feel, I think that's one thing. And obviously of the many accolades that have been lauded at you and as a writer and your production, but there's this feeling of the song and the lyrics themselves and the performance are so intimate, and the production at times can be this very sort of thought out, or very almost it's experimental in a way of like, this is technically something really, it excites two different parts of your brain. There's the thing that it can be very kind of brain candy, like chewing it up, like, ooh, the sizzle on this hi-hat, or the room sound, or the distortion. if you're still minded of the musical mind of how do you get that really great, cool, like, buzzy guitar parts, and real fuzzy, bass lines and big drum sounds, and they're distorted. But then there's stuff that just goes straight to your heart. That's just like, this is an arrow straight to the heart, where that diffuses any of my little studio brain work that wants to get caught up in that world. But now I'm just feeling,
Yeah.
I'm just responding with pure emotion. And I think there's something that's really fun and unique, obviously, about how you do that and how you have done that. And I think that's what now in the hindsight, 20 years later, I can dissect that.
Yeah.
What was happening to my poor little 20-year-old brain,
I love hearing you talk about that, actually. And I really do. I identify with that. And I like how I was describing becoming friends with Phil and like be listening to his early recordings and also being a part, like a member of what he was doing, or a participant in what he was doing. And then him helping me create these recordings for my songs. Like, yeah, I can really get into sound and like production choices. And at the root of everything, I'm so all about emotion and feeling tone. And like, for me, feeling tone is like, more important than guitar tone.
Ooh, tell me about that. What is it? Feeling tone is a new term. How do you
Well,
feel like?
It's funny. I think feeling tone, I feel like that's a commonly used phrase in sort of like meditation and like Dharma circles, where there's a sort of, feeling tone. I haven't had to define it before. But it's sort of like, it's like the color of the air, where it's like, well, air has no color, but actually, like, sometimes depending on your mood, doesn't the world get a little darker, or like,
you take the temperature of the room, like read the room, kind of feeling. Like, what does that mean? It's you don't see it, but you can feel it. That feeling.
You can feel it. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the place where I spend most of my time, and that's my main, that's what I'm digging around in as a writer and as a singer. And so, like, the recording process, like, everything is just in service of me conveying some images and feeling tone, emotional sort of content and experiences, as a way to connect with myself and connect with other people. And I think that there are, like, it's possible to make production choices which step on the toes of that and erase it a little bit. But I want my recordings to work in service of that, and to, like, so that I'm gonna plop like a big bleeding heart right on the table, because that's like, I mean, people connect to that. And I think there's a beautiful function to people being able to, like, see themselves in someone else. And that's what works of art do. They sort of, like, connect on this whole other level. It's not an intellectual understanding. And I think that music has, like, a really beautiful possibility, music and sound, to just, like, get in there with people. And I love that about music. Like, it gets in there with me. I feel a lot of things. And, I happen to work in the lyric form, and I really like singing. Um, I have experienced some pretty like deep feelings just listening to instrumental music or just sounds.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, feeling tone.
Well,
I could
it's so
work on
true.
my definition of that.
No, you don't have to. I mean, it's one of those things that kind of defies definement, or definition in some
Yeah.
ways. But no, that's beautiful. Well, you've been so generous with your time. I really want to thank you for coming on. But I want to make sure we talk about the new record. Tell me a little bit about Dedication,
Yeah.
and how was it going into this, and sort of
Yeah.
what's coming next.
Well, yeah. Um, so it's not the most unusual thing for me to have a bunch of years between at least sort of like full length solo recordings.
Mm-hmm.
But this was sort of long, especially considering I didn't have like a bunch of side projects that came out in between. I mean, there was the 20-year anniversary thing, but that came out in 2020. Like I had planned to tour that.
Oh gosh.
And but we weren't doing that then. That was a weird experience for everyone in the world. And yeah, so there was just like a lot that went on between 2018 when I released Understanding and now. And, honestly, there were times when I doubted whether I had another album in me, or I felt, I had a kid and the pandemic, that was really fucked up. I mean, it was just, and it was different for everybody. And I think, people who did have young kids, like it was just, or kids of any age, like I felt thankful, even just like looking back when circa 2022, just being like, thank God I didn't have a school age kid because the like Zoom school for 2 years, and I have relatives and friends who were
I have like
teenagers.
I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. So our oldest was in first grade, which was a nightmare, and then our little one was just turning 1 year old that first year, and so.
So you were totally in it.
Oh yeah.
Yes, totally in it, and you actually had both of those experiences. I had one kid who he was 15 months old.
Oh, it's hard.
I mean,
everybody had it hard. Like the older kids who were they wanted to go to prom. They were, it was their last years of school. I had friends with the kids.
Oh, it's horrible.
Could you imagine? Yeah. Somebody
and all that was like lucky enough that we're alive, but then things still sucked and were so confusing, and it was really just like pretty hard. So it was like it was not a time where I was doing creative work. I wasn't feeling very good. Like it was a hard time. And so my return to even just like feeling like I could, like I had something, what's in there? It took a long time. And there were half of the songs on the record about, I wrote very slowly over a several year period. And then the second half of the songs, I wrote all in 1 week when I went to that same friend, Andrew's house, because he came to visit and he was like, do you want to just come have a residency at my house? And cool. He and his partner like rent this house in Los Angeles. And it was just like, I just needed to go have a week by myself. I had begun to take time away from my kid a little bit, but I mean, I couldn't even like apply to residencies. Like I couldn't I didn't feel like it wasn't the right moment for me. You know, when you apply for a residency or something like that, you have to be really pumped on yourself, or at least be able to sound like you are. And I was not. And so I needed some time and space, and that opportunity presented itself to me. And then I just like wrote the rest of the songs really fast in a week. And then, so starting from that, when I was like, oh my God, okay, I have a record. And then it just, things fell into place really beautifully with recording and with putting my studio band together, which included Andrew McGuire, Jen Wasner, from Flock of Dimes, and also Y Oak, and Meg Duffy. So that was like my core studio band, which is like, I can't even believe
That's some heavy
I
hitters.
lucked out.
Yeah.
It's some heavy hitters. and like, I had booked the studio time, but I was still so, I mean, like kid life, I can get it's very involving every day. There's so many small tasks every day. And my job, there's all this pre-planning, like if you're planning a tour or even like planning recording dates or all this stuff, it's like you're planning for this future time. But when I spend all day every day doing all these small tasks that all have to happen, it's just hard for me to switch back and forth. I think maybe if my job was more like, I don't know what a normal job is like, but it's like, oh, like a lot of people, they have jobs where there are a bunch of small tasks and you just sort of knock them off the list and you write the emails or you do the thing. And that seems like it's the same kind of brain. It's a small task brain.
Yeah.
You like are knocking things off the list. But for me, conceptualizing life as a recording artist and touring musician, it's like this whole other part of my brain. And it's very independent of like family home life, because when I go off and do these things, I leave family home life for a period of time. So it's just like, I don't know if other people have that same struggle, but I certainly
all the time
do.
Yeah, I could relate to all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I love people will often say, well, why don't you just take your kids with you? And you're like, I am not, Metallica or Taylor Swift or whatever. There is no RV or buses.
There's no nanny on.
Yes, exactly. It's like that. Oh, that sounds lovely.
Although I
would
did.
love to. Yeah. Oh, you have.
I
How
did
was it?
take my kid on tour. I did a few living room tours before the pandemic when he was still an infant. He was 8 months old for the first one, 10 months old for the second one. It was hard. I actually had like a freak out and had to like drive back to my mom's house and like cancel 2 shows.
That makes sense.
Because it was just like, I was having a lot of anxiety.
It's all of it. Yeah. It's
yeah.
And then they get to running around.
Yeah. Like the plan on that tour was like, it was like, I was going to sleep at all the houses where the living rooms were that I was playing, and I would like put him to bed and then play the show. Oh. And actually the shows that worked great. But I had a lot of like postpartum anxiety that I was like able to not really acknowledge that that's what it was until, like going on tour with my 8-month-old. It was just me, my bandmate, and my 8-month-old. That was a situation where I was like, I am freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out. And so now I'm like, oh God, there was so much going on inside my body. And that was too much for me to try to do. But I did another tour with him in August, and it was the perfect trial tour of, Maine, northern New Hampshire, and Vermont. My friend whose band, Footings, he was planning a tour for his band and me. So he set up the shows. We were in 2 separate cars, but there were like other adults around when I would get to the show. All the shows were early.
Oh, that sounds nice.
All the drives were short, and it was great. And my kid did great. So,
maybe
but anyway,
maybe there is
I
hope
was
out
sort
there.
of,
Yeah,
and he loves being at shows.
That's cool. That's cool.
Even though he also loves interrupting me in the middle of a song.
That's fun too. That could happen.
Sort of.
Sometimes. Yeah. Oh, how fun.
What were you going to say?
Oh, no. I had my oldest, who's 12 now. When he was probably about 6 or 7, he took up the trombone through school, the school band.
Yeah.
And I think he just liked it because it looked like a big bazooka or some kind of, big thing and makes loud sound. So I've performed with him a few times, just father and son. I'll just
I love that.
play some stuff and I'll put some delay on a microphone, and he can kind of do a dubbed out trombone thing.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I bet he loves that. It
was nice. Yeah. You never know. It's one of those things I've realized, like, okay, we have a little studio at the house here, and I'm always just like, whenever you want to play, it's there for you. I don't want to push, I feel like there's, I understood how parents become parents. We don't, at least for me, I was not born a dad, but having kids has turned me into a dad, in all the good ways and the bad ways.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It makes me reappraise and reappreciate my parents, and like they were probably cool ones, and then they became parents, and that's what happens. Well, where can people follow you? What's the best way for people to buy the record? I want to make sure everyone sees you on tour. How do you tell people to do that?
So the record it'll be released on the 20th. So coming right up, about a week. Beautiful. And, so for folks who, enjoy their music in the digital format, Bandcamp is really that's the best spot. But it's going to, it's available for streaming on all the platforms. You can pre-order on Bandcamp, and you'll get all the singles that are out, which include, there's 3 singles that are out now. So even in advance of the 20th, I don't know if this is going to be on air before then.
Yeah. This will put us up on the 19th. This will be the day before.
Oh, great. Oh, cool. Yeah. And I am doing a bunch of touring. I am going to have a small band. And there are East Coast dates that are up on my website now. And there's a bunch more Midwest and West Coast dates that will be posted soon, probably next week. And I am not great at social media, but I do post on Instagram. So if that is a place where people find their information, like if I'm playing a show or, have something important to say, I'm definitely not going to blow up anybody's feed, but people can follow me there. And the physical, I am really freaked out about plastic, the whole plastic thing. Gosh. I feel like, oh God, why do people have like all this plastic inside their bodies? Oh, it's because it's in everything
around us. Yeah.
And so I almost was going to skip making physical merchandise. But instead, I decided to get a bunch of CDRs from a thrift store and burn, because, there's spools of CDR. There's so much trash in the thrift store that is like, if no one buys it, the next stop is the landfill. And it's just spools of plastic, of readable or recordable, that's what it is, recordable plastic discs. And I got some and I burned my record onto them. And my friend Marshall LeCount helped me with the record design. So we hand printed the CD covers and the LP covers. And it's going to be really limited edition. Like there will be some mail order, but I am planning to mostly sell the CDs and half of the records just at shows. And the vinyl, we had a bit of a a setback at the plant because the goal was to press it on a new plant-based vinyl.
Oh yeah.
And there was just a bit of a problem. And so I'm not sure of the time frame on that right now, but if all goes according to plan, that is what it will be pressed on. And the covers are all made. They're in my house because we printed them here. But again, we're talking 500, hopefully plant-based vinyl records and 200 CDs. So
amazing.
Maybe I'll press some more, or, we'll print some more, but I don't know. The whole thing, it's hard to make all the right choices environmentally. Even touring is there. You use a lot of resources touring, and
and the gas just gets more and more expensive, and you can't.
Yeah,
I've done so many tours. I remember when there was the oil refined, or what was it, where you get like the diesel engines, and biodiesel.
Oh,
and we had big long talks about
yeah.
that. Like, okay, this is a better way to do it. And but it really it was difficult to do. But I remember I talked a lot about all the money from tour just kind of goes to big oil, just a big
oil, and then
company.
it goes.
Like, this is so hard.
Up in exhaust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You realize all the time you spend, protesting and everything you're doing out there, spreading, for us, like, this punk sort of platform and stuff. Like, we're really just paying Chevron for everything.
I know. Yeah. It's so depressing.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the music industry, and especially like independent musicians, like, we're certainly not the only ones, and like everyone is in the same boat.
Yes.
Everything except for the few people who are like successfully living off the grid, we're all taking part in this wasteful system that's destroying the planet.
Sure. Yeah, even if you don't go on
sorry,
tour.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, but but even if you're not touring, you're right. We are driving around, we're tooling around, or products are coming from across the world, and it's all goes by massive energy costs. Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to think right now. There was a great vinyl plant that's here in Southern California. I'm looking for them right now. That they were doing injection molding. I want to say it was Good Records. They do a cool thing, and they really put some science behind it on how to sort of make it a little bit less as little environmental impact as possible. Good Neighbor. That's what they call it. Good Neighbor music.
Okay, I'll look it up.
There's some.
But I mean, speaking of, like basically, like the best thing would be is for like all of this to stop.
Sure.
And then the second best thing is like, do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
Do the best you can with what's available to you, or, create limitations so that you're not overusing resources that shouldn't be available to everyone, but are, or something like that,
Yeah, I'll send you the link right now for this Good Neighbor music. They're pretty cool. And the other people all have their hearts in the right place, and they're doing it, in the way that, is scalable, so they can do large. I think they did Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother's record.
Yeah.
So they're working towards doing like large scale, sustainable vinyl production. Which I was like, right on. I was happy to talk with them. But, again, everything comes at a cost. But it sounds like you got something, you've thought through it, and you're doing something that does have an impact. And at least, and if nothing else too, at the end of the day, we're talking about it. We're bringing it up. People are questioning it and thinking about things they hadn't thought about. I know it's that's a big part of what we get to do. Mirah, thank you so much. It's been really a pleasure to speak with you, and I appreciate you making the time. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. How rad was that? Mirah, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited about your new record coming out tomorrow. Dedication. You can go to mirah.bandcamp.com to order the record. You can also go to mirahmusic.com to see all of her tour dates. You can also follow her on the Instagrams at mirahmusic to see where to buy the record and how to buy tickets for the upcoming shows and tours she has coming up. I will put links to all of these things in the show notes below. So if you're looking at this on your phone, you can easily go order the record and buy your tickets right now while listening to this. Just click on the show notes down below. Thank you everybody so much for listening, supporting the show. If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me online at Randy S. Randall on the Instagram, as well as on Google, hyphenate at gmail.com. Write me. Let me know what your favorite song off of You Think It's Like This, but really it's like this. I would have to say mine is probably Murphy Bed. I remember learning that riff, or, the kind of the guitar loop. It's this kind of odd time, syncopated loop that's really fun to play. I remember learning that years ago, just kind of just messing around on the guitar. I'm like, oh wait, that's that song. I love this song. This is so good. So check out the record. Let me know what your favorite songs are. Write me, and make sure you go listen to the new record, Dedication, out tomorrow, and buy some tickets and support independent DIY artists making things happening, going out there, fighting the good fight, and put your money behind cool artists. It makes a difference. It really does. All right. See ya next week. Bye.
This something Star Wars rock opera puppet show